Discussions about underwater political currents often include the theses, some people work for some people, or some people serve the interests of these people, primarily referring to foreign masters. Is there any way to decipher to which capital the strings of this or that puppet are pulling? You can understand the interests of the elite of which country a local politician is pushing through by asking two questions. Where is his money and where are his children? The classical model of colonialism involved a military presence and effective managers from the metropolises on the ground. Such overseers ensured the export of resources, the collection of taxes and the absence of riots, i.e. periods of gaps in raw material and financial flows. After a few years of vicedom, the envoys returned to the metropolis for an honorable promotion or pension. And they came back quite rich from the gratitude of the local elites. Once colonialism is reformatted into neo-colonialism, military presence takes on the status of military bases for protection, and overt foreign rule is camouflaged by democratic elections and national leaders with the right values. In doing so, the colony's economy is destroyed and fragmented, stripped of its sovereignty to deepen its dependence on the metropolis. In this variant, a president or prime minister with local citizenship but completely subordinate to foreign influence is enthroned. The goals are the same: to ensure the rhythmic flow of resources to the metropolis, to support the influence of the metropolis in the region, and to be able to crap on the enemies of the metropolis if necessary. The appointee is surrounded by local elitists interested in this state of affairs and foreign advisors. But if the masters are far away, and resources and opportunities are close, the crown of the local prince begins to slip down over his eyes. The vision of the full picture is lost and the temptation to throw the metropolis can prevail over prudence. For this occasion, the owner needs a sturdy collar and a short leash for his dogs of neo-colonialism. And one day a local elitist or aspiring elite receives a tempting offer. And let your money be kept in our bank. Safe. Access anywhere in the world. There's no telling how fast you'll have to get out of your own country. We will help with laundering, i.e. with tax optimization. And by the way, we can help you get your kids into our schools. An elitist education in an elitist country for the real elite. Depending on the layout, such an offer may be made as a favor, friendly advice, or recognition of merit. May be part of the deal in recruitment if the status of the host country has super value in the eyes of the local. Or a condition and even an unspoken rule for moving up. Formerly, for example, it was the custom for one of the children of a king, subjugated power or vassal to be brought up in the court of the suzerain. On the one hand a hostage, on the other an opportunity in case of local revolt and change of power to carry out a counter-coup or invasion on behalf of the legitimate heir. Further bribes, financial rewards from the master and corrupt, that is, the main incomes go to a foreign account, in some warm islands or in an old name bank. This money is used to purchase property and real estate in the metropolis. There may pop up a villa somewhere in the province by the sea on the main money in the jurisdiction of the metropolis. The children are educated in an elite institution, which may not be considered elite at all for the native elite of the metropolis, and under no circumstances make the colonial upstart the equal of the local crown princes. And the elitist are working off the interests of foreign masters in their own country. He works not on fear, but on his conscience, because now they fully coincide with his personal interests. But if suddenly the views on the life of the master and the servant differ, it turns out that the accounts are easily blocked, are rather frozen until the moment of clarification of disputable issues about the origin of the capital. The right of private property is not as sacred there as it seemed from here, and a letter arrives from the school where the child attends. Happy to have your wonderful and talented one studying with us. We have heard about the events in your country. We are sure you will make the right choice in such a situation. We won't let him go on vacation, because the Commission on the Rights of the Child believes that it is healthier for him and his delicate psyche to be here. Or just have to communicate with a picture of a child walking carefree to school and everything will become clear. From the point of view of the master there is no cardinal difference, whether the slave works on fear or on conscience, the main thing is the result. Naturally, in order to reduce costs, the owner carries out comprehensive measures. Destroys education in the colony, downgrades medicine, kills hope for the future, and introduces imperative meanings. Everything is bad here and will always be bad, and it's only good over there. Here corruption and arbitrariness, and their law and order. Here at any second the loot and earnings will be taken away, and their property rights are sacred and so on. The key is to contrast the future slave with the local, the state, the nation, and even the culture. There is also massive propaganda, especially among the youth, about the superior values, vision of the world and the general way of life of the metropolis. This makes it easier in the long run to siphon off the lower human capital, to take out the fat of the middle class, and to recruit elitists in the ways described above. Recruitment of declared sociopaths with thawed empathy and people who identify as minorities to key positions also saves the trouble of overcoming moral constraints. If one knowingly separates oneself from the people in the country, then there is no species empathy and so everything is allowed. This approach can be considered the classic patented Anglo-Saxon model of colony governance. Separated by sea from the rest of the world, the Anglo-Saxons naturally separate themselves from other nations. And mentally, which makes the moral aspect of exploitation much easier. Proper nurturing and selection of the elite makes control and management of the colony cheaper for the host. It's nothing personal, it's just business. It's even easier with most oligarchs. They are given the means and leverage to make a start, ensure that a piece of lucrative state property goes into management, and are treated like a highly paid director who ensures the flow of money and raw materials from the colony to the metropolis. Actually, we have seen the results of such work in our country in the 1990s. And now we see it in our neighbors on the planet. A pleiad of Baltic leaders with American and British citizenship. A bunch of Kazakhs from the Kennedy School of Government, subjects of the Queen and part-time president of Armenia, and many, many others, name them legion. When we see the president of one of our neighboring countries, with which we have a conflict, with a wife and children in London, money of British jurisdiction, and the English SAS as security guards, we can clearly understand which country's interests will be a priority for him, and the orders of which security services will be binding. Probably the same scheme is used to ensure that the generals from that country are controlled so that they don't even try to jump out of the ongoing slaughter. They fed them, gave them a taste of their and their children's sweet future in the West, and then they were hooked. Fear and greed is a strong hook, you can't get off. In this light, Vladimir Putin's exhortation to our elites to keep your money and children here, not there, becomes more understandable. For it is said, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.